Hello, everyone at the Gallian Liberation Front, and welcome for another podcast. Like, it's pretty exciting. Just like it's another fortnight, and yeah, you're joined together by me, JR, and I also have my executive administrator, Eximius here.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And yeah, like today's special guest, we actually have Dean. He's the administrator, actually, I think the only administrator for the Valkyria Chronicles fan page. If you haven't already, check out that page. They're actually big supporters of our group. They've joined us, and we've had actually a lot of members join in from our group. So yeah, really great support. Like they're providing a lot of support for us. So yeah, Dean, how it's good to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. I'm actually glad that you guys thought highly enough to invite me.
Well, yeah, like you've been a big supporter of our group. I mean, like you do actually. Like I should notice, like you do actually a lot of stuff for us. Like you constantly talk, like you tweet about us a lot. Like you often like refer like our page a lot and stuff like that. So yeah, we thought like there'd be no awesome like there should be an awesome way like to repay you. I
Well,
guess like have you on board. Like it'd be awesome. I guess.
well, I figured really it's one of the only ways that I can actually contribute back to the community because I've actually prior to like the whole GLF stuff coming out, I had uh, personally intend to like make a website, maybe try to see if there's interest in actually starting something like what turned out to be like the GLF front. Um, but things didn't work out. I mean, I was busy, other things got in the way, and things. I'm not really an artist or anything, so I can't really contribute, say, artwork, and I'm not really too much of a video guy, and I'm not really as that great at the game itself. Like, I mean, I love the game, and I think I'm a decent player, but I think if I were to ever play a multiplayer match, I might totally get annihilated. Like, just watching Val Chronifications videos and X here's videos, I don't think I could be able to like actually do it as well as you guys have.
Well, it's good to have
Well,
your support in the first place. I mean, any kind of support, warrants at least some kind of mention. Especially with this group, we try our best to welcome anyone, and you've been a great supporter to us, so it's only natural that we'd have you on.
Again, thanks for inviting me. Like, I try to do my best. I don't know how much of an effect any of my tweets are because I noticed that there's only about maybe 100 people, 120 people that are following me on Twitter. And generally, what I end up doing is pretty much I try to see who's talking about Valkyrie Chronicles on Twitter and just tweeting them about the group or just tweeting them to see what's up, what are they interested in.
yeah, but we're well. I guess yeah. It does help actually. Like I see you tweeting a lot, like because you often refer to group, like on a constant basis. So at least you're actively contributing, like trying to help us out, and that's something that we really appreciate. And yeah, guys, I also encourage everybody to do the same. Like if you got a Twitter account, guys, if you look up Valkyria Chronicles and you see anybody mentioning like they're disappointed or such, make a tweet about our group and just like yeah, hopefully they'll join us. And yes, but
Yeah,
for the
Or
same.
even
definitely.
like even like casual fans who are maybe just into your usual run-of-the-mill games, they might even be interested in helping out. Because I mean, I'd like to think that the gaming community as a whole are Samaritans in a certain good Samaritans in a certain sense that if there's a cause that's worthy of following and helping out, that you'll do your part.
Yeah. Well, we try to encourage everybody to do so. Hey, like, like I believe the gaming community as a whole is pretty awesome. Hey, and like I think like in terms of when things get rough, we stand united about a lot of things. Hey, in terms of especially like localization for gaming. So yeah, I'm encouraging everybody to help like continue what you're doing. Keep trying to grab people for our cause. Make them see like our cause is actually worth fighting for. Hey, and try to get them like active in doing so.
And I was saying, at least show them the game, show them how great it is, and if they like it, they'll join us naturally, and they'll come up to us and say, hey, you know what, I like this game, I like the cause, I'd like to help, and that's usually the best way to start it.
Yeah, like I mean, the numbers on the petition before there was issues with the website, petition online. 3,000 is a good number, but we really want to show Sega that we're serious. We want to see the game released here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
guys, it's a great franchise.
absolutely. And yeah, speaking of the petitions, lately they've petitions online. I think they changed their format of the website, and it caused quite a bit of problems. First problem being that we lost over 1,200 signatures on it. I don't know what they're doing about it. So far, it's been about a week and nothing's happened. And in addition to the fact that we lost signatures, many people who tried to sign the petition couldn't because they were having trouble. And it's a mess right now. I don't know what's going on with that
Yeah,
website, but I
it's
really hope they
stuck
fix it
on
soon.
1,835 signatures. We cannot sign anymore. Like if you try to refresh the page, it'll go back to 1,835. I'm actually quite annoyed about the situation. Like I don't mind the layout change of like the petition. Like I don't mind it at all. I just don't like the fact that it's caused a lot of troubles, not only for us, but like other petitions as well, like are having issues as well with this. Like you can't sign, it keeps repeating, it's staying at a fixed amount of signatures. I'm just really hoping, like, because I am like a lot of people are actually coming to sign our petition on a regular basis. I'm hoping it doesn't affect that rate of which they're doing so. Like I'm really hoping that we can get back our 1,200 signatures. We can get like just get things back in order.
And not only that, I mean, also the fact that if you paralyze the signing process, the petitions, and no one can do it, if you know when someone goes to sign the petition, they do it on an impulse, and if they lose that impulse later on, they tend to forget to sign it later on. So because of the fact that it's frozen right now, we're losing a lot of signatures just because of the fact that we can't get impulse signatures. Impulse signatures are a big thing because once they decide to sign it, they'll decide to do it. And if it turns out that they can't sign it, later on when the petitions start to work again, they'll forget to sign it or they won't bother at all in the first place. So it has a double effect, which I hope will not be too damaging, but the damage has already been done. So I don't know what they're gonna do about this.
So is it other groups that have also been
Yeah, I've heard
affected?
the other
Right.
groups. Yeah, I've heard other groups who've had their petition frozen as well, which is a bit disappointing. I feel for the guys here.
Yeah, especially a lot of other groups. They've been mentioning it too. I'm members of some of them as well, and they keep on referencing the petition, saying that we can't sign it, we can't do it. We're trying to sign through Facebook, we can't get it done. I don't know how this became so, but um, they better fix it soon. This is bad, really bad.
Yeah, this is bad for us anyway. Well, in other news, like I know you guys are pretty excited. I made a previous announcement in our previous podcast about like we have been getting heavy requests about how great our podcast is, how exciting it is. Like we love talking, we love doing it for you guys, and we've been getting a lot of requests actually to ask, can we join as a guest speaker? Like I really want to join as a guest speaker. Well, guys, like the requests keep piling in, and we can't really deny you the chance. So basically, I said like we're gonna announce how we're gonna give you the opportunity. You now have the opportunity to earn your spot as a guest speaker, so you can have a conversation between me and Exumus. It'll be a blast, hey.
Hey,
And
why
basically,
not?
we're gonna do that through competition, guys. There's one way to do it through competition. Basically, we're going to ask everybody like if you're really creative with your art, we want you to get your creative juices mixing, guys, and we want to use that to help promote the GLF, but also give you the chance to earn yourself a spot as a guest speaker. Details of that competition will be in the description, guys. But yep, it's there now. You have until the next podcast to
Which is when is that? I think it's the sixth. No, the 16th.
yeah, the 16th. You have
Yeah.
until like the 16th to submit your entries, guys, because we'll be choosing a winner in our next podcast. We'll be announcing our winner in our next podcast. Yeah, it's only 2 weeks, guys, but time flies very fast. So if you really want to earn your spot as a guest speaker, like you really want to be a guest speaker, and you've got creative juices, like you've got artistic sense, like we highly encourage you to enter this competition. Like I said, like details about the competition. There's a link in the description below. So yeah, have a look.
In addition to the description in below at the video, it's also going to be posted on the blog as well. So all the information for entry, all the information for submissions, it'll be on the blog. So take a look at it, and we'll decide who's the winner. And the lucky winner is going to be uh, recording with us on the podcast, and we'll announce it next time, like Jr. said.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast, guys. So wish you all the best of luck here in what you do. Like,
Absolutely. We were talking about Vocaloid and Hatsune Miku getting
Yeah.
songs from Valkyria Chronicles as well as Virtua Fighter.
Actually, I looked at the article on SiliconEra.com, and actually, it looks like it's costumes for some of the characters. I believe there's like two twins, and they both can wear clothing from characters from Valkyria Chronicles 3. Like, for instance, there's the male twin who wears Kurt's uniform, and the twin sister wears Imka's uniform.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what about any kind of soundtracks? I'm pretty sure they're throwing those in as well.
Well, I actually think they've mentioned something before, but from this article, it looks like it's just like outfits or what have you.
At this time, anyway.
At this time, anyway. Okay, all right. I see. I see.
Well,
So,
hopefully they can do like music from the anime here and put it into.
I can't confirm, but I think they mentioned something in the past about maybe having a song from the Valkyrie Chronicles 3 OVA, but I could be completely wrong.
No, we live in hope. We live in hope.
I think that's definitely a possibility. I mean anything Valkyria Chronicles related will probably go into it, particularly soundtracks. So it could be either from the anime or from the games itself. So it goes both ways there.
Yeah, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. I think that's it. Hey, I think that's all the news. That's all the updates that we have, guys. Yeah, that's all we have. And yeah.
The only thing that concerned me right now was this whole petition mess. So I hope it's going to be fine by the next week, or at least by the next podcast. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, guys, we're hoping. We're doing our best. Like we've been contacting the site on a regular basis, trying to get some form of answer from them to see when this thing will be fixed. Like we don't have any confirmed like dates when this thing is gonna like blow off, but hopefully we'll get the petition up and running as soon as possible, and yeah, get a lot of people signing again, like recover from this.
Worst comes to worst, if it's like a prolonged problem with Petition Online, you might actually have to look into perhaps having some kind of form on the GLF website that people can enter. Then somehow maybe that information could be entered into Petition Online when it comes back up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into
hopefully
that.
we can hopefully we can maybe we can do something like that. Maybe
because I mean, with Petition Online, all you enter is really a name, a hopefully valid email address, and your comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
That is true. So
and there is no confirmed email thing.
Yeah, the only problem though is on Petition Online's side potentially is if they only allow, say, a person to enter their name and stuff on the website from one computer, one IP address. Like, say if you guys gather, say, 1,000, and there's no easy way of porting it over. Say the admins all split it up. Say, I'm not sure how many admins there are, but say if there's 5, you split the 1,000 between the 5 of you, and you find out you can't enter more than one.
Like, is there an IP thing? Like, Exumus?
There might be.
There is.
There might be some known IP things. They might record the IP in order to like preserve how genuine the petition is. Like make sure
the unique entry or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they might. So we'll have to see. Like we'll have to see about that. But yeah, we'll try and get this. Well, hopefully they'll get this petition up and running soon. Hey.
Quickly, as fast as possible. Yeah, this is actually costing us a lot, which is not good.
Yeah, it's costing us a lot and extremely annoying, especially for everybody who wants to sign our petition.
Yeah. I guess that's all the news that we have for this time. That's really the only troublesome thing. I hope everyone participated in the mailing campaign. I hope everyone sent in their letters with Operation Iron Veil. It's very important that you do, especially if you're a big fan of the site. Let your voices be heard by Sega. Let them know how much you love the game. If they see huge numbers of mail coming in, they might reconsider. So just keep the activity going. Show them that you care.
I just hope mine actually got there on time because last Thursday I ended up going to a UPS to deliver a package, and I asked them how long would it take to send a letter from Canada to San Francisco, and I was cutting it close. So I hope that it arrives on time.
Well, as like we encourage everybody, like if you haven't sent your letters yet, we still encourage you to do so, even though it won't arrive on like the 4th of November. Just show Sega your support for like the group, like
Yeah,
the franchise
exactly.
itself.
I
Yeah,
mean, we
just send them in.
yeah, I mean, during the operation,
Yeah,
we tried our hardest to actually pile up all the mail on November 4th. I mean, that was the ideal situation. But even if you missed the date, send your letter anyway. You know, just show them that you care. That's really all that matters.
yeah. And for those who haven't actually sent off any letters, don't feel left out because on the GLF or sorry, not the Facebook page, on their official site, you can download one of the 4 or 5 templates that you could submit to Sega. You can edit it to put your name in. Don't feel like you have to write your own custom letter to be unique and different from everyone else who's sending letters.
Yeah, we provide a template for you guys. Like if you want like a convenient letter, hey, that you just want to send in and show your support, then yeah, you can just go to our blog. You can download our letter templates, choose the one that you like, edit it, and then you just print it out and send it, guys. And
Yep.
yeah, that's it.
That's basically it. I mean, it's a simple process. It doesn't take too long. All of maybe 5-6 minutes. That much time spent goes a long way towards helping our campaign. So it's a good thing.
Well, I guess that's all the news updates we have today. And right now, yeah, we guess we're going to stop our topic. And our main topic today, like I've been getting a lot of requests like for topics for the podcast, and none of them have been too broad that we can pick. So I've kind of combined them together. And basically today we're going to talk about the future of the franchise, the future of Valkyria Chronicles, the game itself, like in terms of game mechanics, possibly graphics, and yeah, storyline wise, and also the franchise itself, where it's broadened off to. And yeah, we're just going to do like a recollection of like what's happened so far, and yeah, talk about what's gonna happen, like possibilities that can happen in the future. Just to let you know, guys, these are our own personal opinions. This is not our suggestions to Sega on what they should do. We're just basically going off the top of our head what we think would be awesome for the franchise, hey, and where we think it may go.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to avoid as many flame wars as possible, or have none in the first place. That'd be ideal. So yeah, keep it straight.
We're at Valkyria Chronicles 3 right now. Like, yeah, that's like when did the game launch? Like in 2008, and it's now 2011. 3 games, like
Yeah,
wow.
it's roughly being if you consider the new extra edition, it's almost being one game every year, at least for Japan, because it launched. The original, I believe, launched April 2008. We got in November in North America. I'd have to double check the dates for Valkyrie Chronicles 2, but I believe it came out. Actually, let me just double check.
Like came out on the 4th of November 2008
And
in North America.
that's the first one. So yeah,
Valkyria
so the
Chronicles 2.
second one was Valkyrie Chronicles 2, I believe, was announced at TGS or something or another in 2009. So roughly a year after the first game was released, and it got released in Japan January 21st, 2010. We got it in August. Europe and Australia got it a few days later, and Valkyrie Chronicles 3 also came out in January of this year, and the new extra edition is supposed to be coming out in a few weeks.
In
So it's
November.
Wow.
almost actually, yeah. So it's almost roughly 3 games in about the span of 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's actually
Wow.
pretty good.
Like one game a year, one game a year. That's like pretty awesome for a franchise that only
Yeah, to
just
be
recently
honest,
started.
to be honest with you, had they not switched to PSP, I don't think we would have gotten that many games. I think at most
Yeah,
we would have had
yeah,
the first one, and maybe around now we get a sequel. Because I know
yeah.
a lot of fans have noticed it on my Facebook page. Some are pretty disappointed that I went with PSP. I know when I first beat the game and started actually the game, I was very disappointed myself. I wasn't impressed with the story. Like I guess it's an issue of when you have such high expectations from the first game or like from the first movie in a franchise, and then the sequel lets you down really badly. Because it felt like Valkyrie Chronicles 2. Because for me, I'm a big RPG fan, or Japanese RPGs to be more specific. And the one thing that always pulls me and attracts me to a game is definitely the gameplay, but also if it has an interesting story. And in Valkyrie Chronicles 2, the story was pretty decent. It had a lot of potential, but it felt like it just had no direction. Because at times you had the story got serious, and then it got kind of playful, and then it went back to being serious, and it just was kind of jumping back and forth. Whereas in the original game, yeah, they had those side stories and everything, but it didn't distract you all that much from the main story that was going around with the invasion by the Empire.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can understand what you're talking about. Hey, like in the first like talking storyline wise on the franchise, the first game it really kept you on board on the main storyline because each mission like was a potential building block for the main storyline. It would build on like what was happening right now in the war and your participation in the war as Squad 7. Like it was really like fundamentally building you, heading you in one direction. You could see like you were heading in the right path basically. But in terms of like when they switched to Valkyria Chronicles 2, the storyline, like things were kind of inconsistent and you kind of left in the dust about what was happening in terms of Class G's participation in the war against the rebels because they would have a mission like your main mission, but they would never explain how that was fundamentally contributed to the
Yeah,
storyline, and it
like
kind
with
of
the
like
first
yeah, it kind of
like
diverted.
with the first game, when you had like the main battle, it was like pretty much the end of a bunch of events for that chapter of the story, right? With this one, you had a bunch of missions that you would do that may or may not lead to the actual like the main mission. And the thing that kind of bothered me, when I originally read about the premise and I posted about it on my personal blog, I thought it was interesting. It's at a military academy. It's the next step after completing Valkyrie Chronicles 1 would be a story about the events right after, because Princess Cordelia, the ruler of Gallian, comes out and says that she's a Darkson, and there's all that racism going around in the world of Valkyrie Chronicles against Darksons. So I thought that the concept of there being a civil war was good, but then as I started to play it, it kind of just went downhill, and it doesn't help that a lot of the characters were just very obvious, like your usual anime character tropes. Like you have Zeri, who's the quiet and serious guy. Then you have Cosette, who's kind of ditzy and has who's colorblind and has a fear of blood. And then you have the main character who's happy-go-lucky and hyper and has a very annoying laugh. And then all the other side characters you'd have, like I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but there was the one character who was like a kind of like he gave the impression like his appearance was that he's like this tough, really tough guy, but he's like a sweetheart, a kind guy, right? And you had the guy who was the student council vice president or president, who was double faced, where he's in front of other people, he's all nice, but when he's not in front of people, he's like whole evil and scheming and everything. And it's stuff like that that bothered me. That it was just such obvious character tropes. Whereas in the first one, I'm sure that they used character tropes because I mean everything does it, but it just felt so poorly executed in Valkyrie Chronicles 2.
Like
And
yeah,
like it's the thing is the story. Like I thought it was interesting. This main character is trying to find out what happened to his brother, but then it kind of falls by the wayside because he's all about, oh, I'm going to help Class G become the best class there is. Yay! And then it sort of like forgets the seriousness of they're in a civil war, people are dying, and here's the main character worried about winning the school interclass championship and trying to show up Class A, which is the class consisting of all the best students, and it just kind of felt silly as it went on. And then towards the end of the game, that's when it got more serious. And then without trying to spoil anything, also the main villains were kind of like poorly done as well. Like the main villain is the father. You'll have to tell me the last name. It's something with a G or some
Yasunari.
kind. Yeah. So their whole backstory is pretty interesting. Like the daughter, who's a member of like this, the four-member group of that family. She introduced how there's like a religion that worships the Valkyria, which are never mentioned in the first game. So there's these little small things that kind of introduce new stuff to the series, but it just seems like I don't know. I just couldn't find it to hate the villains. or to sympathize with them.
There wasn't any proper tonal continuity. You'd have series
Yeah.
events, and then all of a sudden it'd go very, very, cheery and delightful. It wasn't. It didn't exactly focus on the war too much, which I can understand with the storyline. When it comes to anime tropes, particularly this game, it was geared towards the Japanese audience, so it's not surprising to me
Well,
to have.
that's actually it's very true. Like back when the second game was like announced and in planning stages, uh, one of the staff members had actually mentioned something about how 95% of the fan base, and I'm assuming this is the fan base in Japan, was male and at ages that are higher than what they expected. So I'm assuming maybe early 20s to late 30s, maybe. And
Yeah.
their whole approach for releasing the title on the PSP, besides the fact that it's cheaper to make games for the PSP, it takes a lot less time, is also to appeal to like the younger generation. Because don't quote me on this, but from my understanding, in Japan the PSP is like top
Much more
notch. A
popular.
lot of people own it.
Right.
Very,
It's
very popular.
right.
But although I realize that they were catering to the fan base in Japan, it just feels like they should have put a bit more effort into it.
Well, yeah, that's what we're hoping that they'll do. Like the next release, hopefully with another release of Valkyria Chronicles 3, they can kind of cater to Western audience as well. Hey, like because getting like a level of understanding of how like the PSP works. I mean, like you look at the PSP now, like I think it's at its end of its time. Like everybody's saying it's the end of its time, especially with Vita coming out. I mean, opens a lot of possibilities of how you could go about localization for this game to cater both to the Western and the Eastern audience as well. Like but going back to storyline, at least like I think they've kind of picked up on things like small things, especially on the third one. Hey, like they've kind of kept the storyline consistent, like especially with the participation of like the nameless squad. Like they've kind of kept you on track with this kind of things. Like, yeah, you see a little bit of like diversion in like the gameplay, like just like a little side things, but it kind of keeps you on track in terms of like characterization. Eximus, you've imported the game, so you could tell us a bit more about that. Actually, like I actually haven't imported the game myself, so I
Wait,
wouldn't
wait,
know.
wait. Tell you what, like the characterization
Like
and stuff.
storyline, like the way the storyline has progressed, like in Valkyria
Well, the
Chronicles 3, like
well,
how it's smoothed out.
well, the thing is, I don't know a lick of Japanese, so I can't exactly tell you what the storyline's about. I can tell you like game mechanics and gameplay, but I can't exactly go into detail about storylines. Um, what I can say, however, is that the way how gameplay and storyline is introduced is much more smoother in a sense because the way how you accept your missions is on an overhead map, an overhead strategic map. So you have cutscenes, and then you have the mission that results from the cutscene. So it's done a little bit better in this one. They've improved the transition from storyline cutscene to gameplay battle, and then back to cutscene again. Because it's on an overhead map, you see progress as you travel across the map. I can tell you that it's done much better now. But in terms of actual storyline detail, I can't exactly say anything about it. That's about it. I really, because in Japanese.
Okay.
If there are fans out there who do want to try out Valkyrie Chronicles 3, if you do have a Japanese PSN account, or if you don't, you can obviously look up how you could create one. I believe the Valkyrie Chronicles 3 demo should still be available. Again, it's all in Japanese except for I believe like menu options at the very beginning, like at the main menu. But that's how I actually got a chance to play Valkyrie Chronicles 3 by downloading the demo via a Japanese PSN account I created like a year or two ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've also
it's
played the
still
demo
available.
myself. Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be still available.
it's still available. Actually, I talked to Chris recently, and he actually confirmed it. He did exactly that and created a Japanese PSN account, downloaded it, so it should be still available, at least according to him.
And like if you're more of a hardcore fan, they even have PSP themes on on a Japanese PSN. Actually, there's a member of my page, and I believe also the Gallian Liberation Front on Facebook, who had told me he had purchased the themes off of the Japanese PSN, but you require like a Japanese credit card or like a Japanese PSN card to be able to purchase any of it. So unless you're like really, really want it, it's not quite exactly the easiest way to purchase it.
Well, yeah, it's up to you. Like there is that option, guys. But yeah, I'm going back to game mechanics. Hey, game mechanics is actually a big one because we saw a big change in terms of like they kind of improved the game mechanics in Valkyria Chronicles 2, but there was like a couple of issues, and then they redefined and smoothed out those issues apparently in Valkyria Chronicles 3.
Well,
So yeah,
to be honest with you, the brightest spot on Valkyrie Chronicles 2 is the gameplay. It is a lot more faster, smoother, more fun. Um,
yeah,
it's just the game. The gameplay was great. If you were to separate the gameplay from the story, I would honestly give Valkyrie Chronicles like a 9 out of 10.
yeah.
The gameplay is fun. It's actually kind of funny when I've gone back to play Valkyrie Chronicles 1. It just feels really awkward because the controls are very different. Because I'm used to like uh, start being the way you end your turn, and on the PS3 it's circle button, and it just especially on the digital copy of Valkyrie Chronicles that you can purchase from the PSN store, it feels even more faster than the UMD. The battle loads up quickly, and everything. Maybe it's due to the fact that they had a lot more limited resources from the PSP to work with, but they did a good job with the gameplay mechanics.
I mean,
Well,
yeah, it was awesome. Hey, you see the progression of like let's see, character classes have improved significantly. Like they've got a lot of variety now. Like in terms of introducing new game mechanics, and new classes to the Valkyria Chronicles world. Like they had like melee characters like molars and fencers, which is something actually like they're kind of my favorite classes in like Valkyria Chronicles at the moment. They even introduced like musicians like Anthem Elites and Meldus.
Up until like a few days ago when I watched a video from that X posted on YouTube, I believe it was YouTube and on the GLF Facebook
it
page,
was it was
and
it
I
was on
saw
that
him how
Facebook page, right? And I posted it on
yeah,
my YouTube channel. Yeah.
yeah, and I think you used one of the musicians. I think you had it as cassette. She was your musician,
Yeah, that's the
and I
latest
used it
video.
in one battle. I beat the whole game without using that class even once because it's at the time it seemed to me that like it was such a useless class, and I'm still trying to find out whether that's the case. Um, yeah, because I never really found the need like to use them because I guess since I kind of grinded my characters maybe halfway through the game, I didn't really need it as the game
Well,
progressed.
the thing is with Anthem Elites, they tend to reduce the luck factor. When you have up statuses, like for example, increased amount of attack, increased defense, increased accuracy. If you have increased accuracy, the chances of misfire occurring happens a lot less. So I think Anthem Elites are good in a sense that you can decrease the luck factor involved and more towards actual skill in your aiming, in your
Well,
positioning, and whatnot. So I think Anthem Elites are
I'm,
good
I'm
in a sense for having that.
yeah. Well, I'm trying to like at least get a few of the characters to be the musicians
You don't even need
class.
too
The one
many.
thing that did bother
You can only use like one Anthem Elite. You can just have one. That'll be plenty enough. Yeah.
True, but see the one thing that I didn't kind of like about the gameplay, maybe this is where I wouldn't give it the 10 out of 10 rather the 9 out of 10 is that um, a lot of the items you need to upgrade or like to upgrade weapons or to upgrade your class, it sort of seems somewhat random. Like for instance, now that I'm in the post game area of the game, I want to upgrade all the weapons so I can get the medals. But I have no idea where some of these materials you can get, or even if, say, it's on this one mission, there's no guarantee that I'll actually get it. And actually, the only
Actually,
thing that's kind of helped me here and
actually,
there is there was a.
I was gonna say actually there is a system involved. It's dependent on both the type of grade of the mission as well as the location of the battle. So, for example, if you
Mhm,
want to get, for example, let's say gunpowder, if you want gunpowder
mhm.
material, you would want to participate in missions that take place in Rowendal, because Rowendal is where you get gunpowder material. If you want to get like level 1 to 2 type gunpowder, you'd participate in first grade missions. If you want level 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, naturally it's 2 to 3, you'd participate in second grade missions. If you want gunpowder that's level 4 to 5, you'd participate in a third grade Rondal mission of any kind. If you also, let's say for example, if you wanted steel, if you wanted a particular type of steel, you would participate in missions that took place in Arlem Village. So the kind of material you get is dependent on where this battle takes place. It's the setting of the battle.
See, in my case, in my case, I have no idea of knowing that, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, I do realize that
you
there
learn
has to
trial
be
and error.
somewhat of a challenge in the game, but it would have been neat if there was kind of like a hint that, maybe even the story saying, oh, this city is known for their, their mines
Well,
and
the thing is
making gunpowder or something.
yeah, but when it comes to like figuring out where you can get your materials, it's trial and error. You have to be very attentive towards the results screen, because if you look at the kinds of materials that you get at the end of the battle, you start to see a pattern. I started noticing this pattern when
Mm-hmm.
I played Arlem Village quite a lot. I've gotten all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of steel every time I did a mission in Arlem Village, and I just wrote down notes on like paper, like, okay, in this place you get this kind of material. So I just basically played
Well,
a lot of missions with different areas, and I just basically made notes on them.
Well, I'll have to keep that in mind when I go back to playing. Like, so the nice thing I liked is how in the mission info screen, you can at least see, that Arm X or Arms 2. I'm probably getting the names wrong, but
Yeah,
like the
yeah, the credits. They're
different
called
attributes
credits.
you can get, the credits.
Yeah,
Yeah, the credits. You at least know those ones you could potentially get them on this map. But
right.
again, the distribution seems slightly random. Like sometimes when I've used a character a lot, they won't get certain credits, whereas a character that I didn't use as much gets the credits that I wanted for the other character.
Yeah, that
I
that happens
mean,
quite frequently. There's also
But
a system for that as well. I just figured it out a couple of days ago. But for example, if you want your characters to get like support credits, like support at support X, support two, support 2X, that kind of credit involves being a support class. So for example, if you want to support, you want to do like a supportive action in the mission, so it would be something like healing a person, capturing a camp, or basically providing assist fire. If you, let's say for example,
Mhm.
if you want Elias to get support 2x, you would want to participate in a third grade mission that allowed you to get support 2x and have her assist and use her as an assist fire. So that way she provides support. So that's one way to do it. It's the same thing with attack. Attack credits are basically credits that you get if you attack enemies. Um,
Mhm.
Credits like March, for example, March X, March 2, March 2X, those are credits that you get if you travel a lot, or if you run over a mine
Mhm.
by accident. You get that sometimes. The only one that I haven't figured out a system for is the certificate and diplomas, and those are completely random. There isn't really a system for those.
Actually,
yeah.
I was half expecting you to say you hadn't figured out the system to how to unlock certain potentials. Some of them,
Unlock
like
unlocking.
there's a
Oh,
clear pattern to them,
There
yes,
is a
there
way
is
but
to
actually.
unlock potentials. There is.
There
Like
but
is.
like during normal, yeah,
Yeah.
during normal gameplay, I've like stumbled across some of them, but like back when when it came out, someone generated the spreadsheet on in Google Apps or Google
Yeah.
Docs or whatever it's
I
called,
actually looked at that myself
and it
too.
kind of it kind of spelled out how you unlock certain potentials, right? But one of the potentials you have to unlock for Avon is you step on a mine without activating it. So the whole process to get this thing is you need to have him step on one and then take the is it APC vehicle, pick him up, and then unload him, and then continue like an additional turn or something.
Oh,
But I
I
mean,
think you're.
the thing is,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I think you're talking about dud mine. Dud mine is when you step on a mine, but it doesn't explode. Yeah, that he has
Yeah.
that potential. He also has another potential called auto clear. Auto clear is a potential where you know how normally when you have to disarm a mine, you have to go in front of it, press the circle button to clear it. He takes out his wrench, clears the mine. What auto clear does is
Mhm.
that he can step on the mine, and it would just clear it off the map. It wouldn't explode. So that's another type of potential. In order to activate that, you have to have him step on mines. But there is
See,
also a
see me?
second stipulation involved. If you
Mm-hmm.
want particular potentials unlocked, you have to spend a certain amount of CP on them. So for example, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
get, let's say, double movement on for Avon, you have to both make him run out of AP as well as spend about 10 to 15 CP on him throughout the game for that potential to unlock.
Oh yeah. There's some of the potential. I can't remember if it's which kind of potential it is, but I believe if you have 5 CP used on the character, 10 CP, and 15 CP used on them, they unlock certain potential. But the thing is, see, I liked it in the first game where the way you unlock potentials is a lot more simpler. You do certain actions that kind of
Yeah,
build towards it.
you'd
Like,
get them. Right.
for instance, reviving a dead comrade would give you, say, 2 points, for example, right?
Right.
Capturing a base would give you 5 points, and to unlock, say, the potential, it takes 20 points, right? It was a
Right.
lot more simpler than Valkyria Chronicles 2. Maybe the whole point was to give additional gameplay value to the game by
Well, I
grinding for
mean,
all these items, grinding for all these potentials. Uh,
well,
I mean, it's not a grind fest as much as, say, a title like This Guy is, but sort
oh
of
wow.
along that path.
Yeah, I've played that. That is certainly a grind fest. Well, the thing is, with the point system in Valkyria Chronicles 1, it's kind of similar in Valkyria Chronicles 2, but in 2 there is no point system. It's based on how much CP
Yeah.
you use on it. So it's kind of similar. So in both of them you have to do both a specific action and at the same time you both have to acquire a certain number of quota points. In Valkyria
I
Chronicles
don't
1
know,
it was points and in 2 it was CP.
it just seems to me that it was a lot more simpler and seamless in the first game than in the second. Because I think for your characters going through normal gameplay, leveling them up all the way, having them reach a certain amount of actions like saving a comrade, healing them, capturing a base, killing an enemy, um, and then completing the game unlocks all their potential. So there's none of this. You have to use a 5
Yeah.
CP on them, or 10 CP on them, or 15.
Yeah, it just
And
comes
of course,
naturally.
for the main, yeah, and then for the main cast, of course, you had to complete those side missions, which I didn't even find out about until I reached the last chapter of the first game.
Yeah.
So I remember watching some of the trailers, and I think one of the trailers was a scene from the beach where they're all at the beach, and Welkin is with his sister, and then Alicia comes asking, "How's my swimsuit?" or something, which seems to be sort of replicated in Valkyrie Chronicles 3, from what
Well,
I've seen.
it's a running
Uh,
joke. There's always a swimsuit scene in any one of them. There was one in Valkyrie
Yeah, but
Chronicles 1 and 2 and 3.
literally, in the sense that female character comes up to the main character, asks, "How does it look like on me?" It's just
Uh,
actually, I just realized that right now.
yeah,
So
it's
I
a running
remember
gag.
like playing through the game. I remember playing through the game, getting to the end, and thinking, "I didn't see that scene. Where the heck was that scene?" And that's when I was flicking through the different chapters. You finally come across these side chapters, which once you complete them, you unlock potential for the character. I don't know. As you said, it seemed a lot more natural in the first one. I don't know what it's like in the third one, but I'm assuming it would probably use a similar system as the second game.
Well, the potentials you're talking about are character potentials. Those are the ones that you
Uh-huh.
unlock through classmate missions, and they have those in Valkyrie Chronicles 3 as well. Um,
Uh-huh.
so they have missions geared toward specific characters. So, for example, I know Frederica Lip. She's number 19 in Valkyrie Chronicles 3. You do a specific mission with her. I don't know the details because it was all in Japanese, so I don't know what was going on. But you do a specific mission with her, and a specific potential unlocks with her. So it's the same with Valkyria Chronicles 2 and 3 as well. It's just a little bit
Yeah, because
different. It's the way how they present it.
number two, number two had the classmate missions, right?
Yeah, they had the classmate missions in this one. In 3 it's similar because it's basically a character mission. So classmate missions dealt with a specific problem with the character. They would address it in the mission, and based on what kind of revelation they had within the mission, that would become a potential. It was the same thing with Valkyria Chronicles 3 in that it wasn't a classmate mission, it was a character mission. It was basically a mission that did like a character study for this particular person, and when you've finished that study, you'd get a potential based off of that character study. It was that system for 2 and 3.
I heard in Valkyria Chronicles 3 actually, the character stories are actually geared towards like the storyline, because you can take alternative paths, like in terms of the storyline, right? So
Well,
you
there's
meet up
no,
with certain
yeah.
characters, and
Yeah.
like their storyline, their side characters, as well as like building potential, they've kind of smoothed it into the storyline to make it like less of a side mission, or so I've heard.
See, it's interesting you guys mentioned it, how like you sort of explore the side character stories. Because in the first game, all the side characters were just literally side characters. You don't really learn
Yeah,
much about them.
pretty much.
I mean, I didn't really mind that. I mean, because, as in any movie or TV show, there's the main cast, and then there's, the smaller roles for the other characters, right? Because, I mean, um, for instance, in Valkyria Chronicles 1, you're following the story of Vulcan and Alicia. You're not following the story of Vice and Ica, well, the characters from
They've got their own game. Skies of
Skies of
Arcadia.
Arcadia, or some of the others, like, for instance, Jan, the
John Walker.
Lancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not playing the game or going through the story to be able to find out what are his motivations. Why is he a Lancer? Why is he this? Why is he that? It's a focus on the main cast, and that's one thing I liked about the first game. But I've seen quite a few fans felt that more time needed to be dedicated to the side character. Side characters to flesh them out, to give them more of a story, and I guess to maybe attract people to like them. Like, for instance, I still don't get this, but Eddie Nielsen is super popular in Japan.
Oh, because she
Like
has ponytails. It's obvious. She has pigtails. Everyone in Japan
Yep.
loves
and she's
pigtails.
yeah. So like to me, it was kind of surprising because she was a bit of an annoying character. But I mean, she's had the whole Valkyrie Chronicles blog was centered around like conversations between her and Homer. I believe that was the
because
case for number 2 and number 3.
because they were the odd couple in the game. The
Yeah.
thing
Yeah,
is
they were.
when you looked at the game and the way how they interacted with each other, you knew that there was some kind of tension between them. But it wasn't so evident until you saw more of their actions, especially until you saw
And,
the DLC mission, the ED detachment mission.
I
That's
was
when you
about to
really got to see
say,
the relationship between the two.
yeah, and
Homer
you
was
got
Eddie's
this.
punching bag.
Yeah. See, the thing is, the DLC goes and expands it further, right? And I believe Sega really, really missed out on improving the game experience by not having like more additional DLC, or like to me, Valkyrie Chronicles 1. I haven't played 3 in depth, but to me, it's a perfectly fine game. One of the things I think would have really made the game special, more so than it is if they had some kind of multiplayer online component to it. Like the second game, clearly, the development team thought it was a good idea to have multiplayer, and I haven't had a chance yet to try it out. But I mean, if they had multiplayer, like some people will say, "Oh, I hate multiplayer. I like the single player experience. I don't want to play with other people, yada yada, and so on and so forth." But the thing is, if you have multiplayer, you don't have to worry about the AI being really crappy, because the AI will be as unpredictable as you are.
Well, I guess like in terms of like what Seagull's trying to do, like I guess introducing online play too early, especially for a game like Valkyria Chronicles at its starting point, right, would have been a bit of a gamble, I guess, for them. I guess they just want to try to smooth out to see if their game mechanics or the way gameplay was working in
But
Valkyria
looking,
Chronicles
but
was
looking
like
back,
efficient.
sorry to interrupt, but looking back, the games that have really sold well, regardless of whether you like them or not, have been games that have had a multiplayer component to them. Like, for instance, look at the Call of Duty franchise. It's pretty big, and uh, its main really feature that captivates people is the online gameplay, not so much the single player. Like, I know a lot of people have complained that the AI in Valkyrie Chronicles 1 and 2 is too simple, too easy at times. But if you had multiplayer capabilities, you don't have to worry about that, because who knows what'll happen.
Well, I think they've improved the AI in Valkyria Chronicles 3. Like, Intercept Fire is one of the big. Like, I think we addressed this. Intercept Fire is quite big actually in Valkyria Chronicles 3. It's
Oh,
more
a
realistic.
lot, a lot.
X, you can mention on that. Like, you've played it, so
Oh my goodness. They will kill you if you're not careful. One thing they've actually done to disregard like rushing, like the glitch with Alicia in Valkyria Chronicles 1, the quote unquote Alicia rush, where you can just basically rush through a whole bunch of interception fire and take minimal damage and control and capture a camp with however you want to do it. They prevented that in Valkyria Chronicles 2 by introducing the AP use-up system, where if you were to like just simply walk into a bunch of interception fire carelessly, what the game will do is penalize you by basically diminishing your AP. So you'd essentially uh, become immobile for that turn. What they did in Valkyria Chronicles 3 was not only did they add AP penalty, but they also increased the interception fire damage. So if you were to just carelessly walk into an interception fire, not only would you lose your mobility, but you'd also be killed on the spot. So what the game did was basically force you to play a lot more smart, a lot more tactically, strategically, making sure that the decisions you make were proper. Um, they've done a lot in terms of difficulty just by adding interception fire and AP penalty. Yeah, you have to position your units in a much more different light than, let's say, Valkyrie Chronicles 2.
It's funny you mentioned the whole Alicia thing as being a glitch. I just always thought of it as her character is overpowered and broken. Because I mean, there's
Well,
so
yeah,
many levels where you could literally finish the turn just using her. Like when you do the Brule skirmish,
yeah,
or even just the normal battle, you can finish it in one turn just using her and using the Awaken Order
the
or
awakened
Awaken
potential. Yeah,
Potential Order.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was also another thing about that game. The awakened potential order was one of the things that caused some balancing issues with high level potentials, particularly with Alicia and her Valkyria potential as well as her defense potentials and attack potentials. Yeah, it caused some problems, and it is part of the game. I'm not going to say it isn't. To be honest, I think any kind of glitch is part of the game because it's in it. If it's there for you to abuse, go ahead, abuse it. I know for a fact that I've abused the friendly fire glitch quite a few, where the enemy would attack you but ended up hitting the opponent instead.
Oh yeah, I've used that as well a lot in Valkyrie Chronicles 2. Actually,
Yeah,
we should be glad that they didn't make Alicia even more broken by having her having access to her Valkyria powers directly, like you can
yeah,
for Riella in Valkyrie Chronicles 3.
yeah.
Yeah, especially when you did so for Salvaria, her glitchy lance for
Oh,
the DLC.
that was funny stuff.
Oh yeah,
Just
that was good
just
fun.
shoot through anything you want and you will hit it. Period.
Discovered by
Was
me.
was this the VC1 DLC that you guys are referring to, or number 3?
Yeah.
It
It's
was
the
a
secret
collaboration.
mission.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah, the secret
Salvaria
mission.
Azure Witch mission that we were. It was basically a collaboration between me, Jr. and Chris and some other folks. We were basically trying to figure out a way to one turn this mission, and Jr. figured out a way to basically use her lance to shoot through anything you want to hit something, and that
But so
yeah,
sorry, this was from the DLC for the first game, right?
Yep,
yeah,
DLC.
All
yeah.
right.
Like, yeah, behind a blue flame series for
Yeah, yes, I
Salvaria.
thought that's the one that you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
you get to
wanted
use
to
Salvaria as
check.
a full blown Valkyria. Her interception fire with the lance is absolutely appalling. But in terms of raw power for the lance, like especially you can shoot through all types of matter, it's absolutely ridiculously
It skewers through anything.
overpowered.
It just goes through
Yeah,
anything.
skills.
It's it's like it's not even there. It might as well just be empty space. It'll just go through anything.
I still find it funny anyway. But yeah, going back to like one of the things we didn't mention was actually about character class. In Valkyria Chronicles 2, like there's a wide a range of character classes you can deviate to depending on your power. Except for Ivan, like he obviously can take on any class. But
Yeah.
specifically with other classes like shock troopers, engineers, techs as well, like they can take different paths. Annoying thing I had about that was obviously it did this fit in with the storyline, but the annoying thing was grabbing like credits and other stuff like to advance your class. But then the fact that you unlock that class and you want to change to a new class, right? Say for instance you want to change back for a situation, right? You would have to have the required credits again to go back to that class. That was the annoying thing that I didn't really like.
Yeah.
But I loved it how they eliminated that in Valkyria Chronicles 3,
Oh,
especially.
they eliminated
yeah,
pretty much everything. No credits, no material farming, nothing. All you need is just deep ducats, which is the currency in the game. Just use money and you get your stuff.
Woo!
That's it. No credits, no
Woo!
material hunting. Exactly. See?
Sega already had my check for Valkyrie Chronicles 3 before. Now even more so.
Exactly. They made the upgrading
yeah,
system a lot easier in the third game, so I'm actually glad about that. They went back to the previous system, which was in VC1, which is you just needed money and that's it. Money and you got your new weapons. That's it.
wow,
There you go.
that is awesome.
Any fans who are still holding out and thinking that Valkyrie Chronicles sucks on PSP, try to get behind the GLF. At least number 3 sounds to be a great step in the right direction.
It
Yep,
is.
they've
It's
improved it a lot,
wonderful.
guys.
They've improved it
Like
a
they've
lot.
done a lot of improvements. Hey, they've like to game mechanics, some of the issues, some of the improvements they've had from VC 2. They've roughed them out and smoothed them out in Valkyria Chronicles 3. Like they've made a lot of improvements to this game. Like I've played it as well. Like I haven't had the Japanese port, but my friends have imported the Japanese port, and I've played it. I've also played the demo. They've made a lot of changes to make sure like to cater some of like the annoying factors in Valkyria Chronicles 2, and it's got an awesome storyline. Like it keeps you on board, guys. Like it really stands out as a defining game that we want to see localized in the West. Hey, so
Particularly
yeah,
for the
keep
portable
supporting
platform.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do wonder though how they'll go move on from here with Valkyrie Chronicles 4 if they actually consider making one. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but Valkyrie Chronicles 3 does have 2 different endings.
Yes, it does. It's between either Rila or Imka. That's about it. I'm not gonna spoil it how it ends, but it's on YouTube. But I'm not gonna spoil it anyway. But
yeah.
yeah, it has 2 different endings. I don't know how they're going to continue with VC4. What the thing is, Valkyria Chronicles in Japan is very popular. I mean, you have an entire anime adaptation for Valkyria Chronicles 1. You have 2 OVAs. You have all this merchandise for it. You have the extra
Yeah,
edition which is coming out. Yep.
there's apparently multiple comic adaptations. Like
Right.
there's the original one, which I believe is at least 4 volumes. And actually, I'm kind of disappointed that there hasn't been any movement by any company to either license it or release it legally, or even someone to translate it
Into
online.
English.
Because apparently the manga for or Japanese comic for Valkyrie Chronicles 1 is like it's a lot more serious and a lot more gory than the game.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know how true that is.
I haven't personally read it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, yeah, if it takes into a serious direction now, it would change the setting quite a bit. But based on all of the things that are being released that has the Valkyria Chronicles name attached to it, it's widely popular in Japan. So it's safe to assume that based on how much of a popularity it has, I wouldn't be surprised that Valkyria Chronicles 4 would be released. And I think the possibility of a fourth installment being released is very high. So I think they will release it. Whether it's going to be on the PS3 or not, it might be. It's going to have to be on the PS Vita, which is something I personally look forward to. If it's going to be on the PS Vita, it's going to look even much better than before.
Yep. It's a portable PlayStation 3 in your hands.
Yeah,
And
basically.
considering like they're putting it on Vita, like if you look at the developer diaries for Vita, a lot of companies are talking about the transferring aspect of having a digital copy of the game on the PlayStation 3 and on the Vita. And what you can do then is like if you want to play the game at home, you're free to play it on the big screen. But for instance, if you want to take it out with you, you can just transfer the data from the PlayStation 3 to your Vita, and then you can take it out with you. And
Or just or
yeah,
just if you're like kicking back and like relaxing on the couch or lying in bed, you can play it on the Vita.
yeah,
Yeah.
like multiple ways to do it. Like it kicks off like the portable aspect, but at the same time, like you can keep it on PS3. Like yeah, it's really opens up a lot of opportunities, especially for to have like the game remastered. I guess like to exhibits. We were talking about this before. Like I don't know if you remember. Like in terms of graphic wise, in terms of in game. Do you remember that DLC character I showed you, like for Valkyria Chronicles 3? And yeah, what we were defining.
Nagisa. Yeah, Nagisa. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
from
nice.
Fantasy Star Portable 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you know what we were talking about in terms of like what we like, the aesthetics and like proportions, I guess, for the characters that they should change, like with her, I guess what you say, like a triangle shape chest, which is like
Yes,
kind of
yes.
disturbing.
The aesthetics
Yeah,
within the pre-rendered graphics in the PSP. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think we were talking about the cleavage in that it was kind of
yeah, yeah,
conical shaped. Yes, I remember that discussion quite
yes.
well.
It was very, guys. It was very. Let's just say it was basically like
It was kind of
if you
weird.
stuck a triangle, yeah, it was pretty weird. They stuck like a triangular tube right on the front of a flat place, right, and then they just smoothed out the edges, and that was her chest hair, and I found that really really disturbing.
Yeah,
So especially if it's coming to Vita, they can like smooth it out, get like
yeah. Yeah,
character
So
proportions back
this
again.
is
basically,
a
if it comes
character.
to the Vita, then we'll see much better boob shapes. I guess that's the whole
Boob
point.
shape.
So, so you said this is an unlockable character from Phantasy Star Portable 2?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in Valkyria
it's
Chronicles
Nagisa.
3. She's
Yeah,
basically the
That's
main character in
Fantasy Star
Fantasy
Portable 2.
Star Portable 2, I like Infinity, right? Like she's the
Yeah,
main character.
well, in both
I was gonna
Infinity.
say, because in Valkyria Chronicles 2, they had a unlockable character from Phantasy Star Portable 2 as well, but you needed the Phantasy Star Portable 2 save data, and I don't think Phantasy Star Portable 2 came out in North America and Europe and Australia, or am I completely wrong there?
No, there is
No, it
actually a
did come out. It
Fantasy
did
Star
come out.
character. Yeah, there is. I've actually never unlocked her because I've never used her. I might think of trying her out now because I think how many characters
Like
were there? I think there was like one or two characters from the Fantasy Star
Oh,
universe in
just one.
VC2.
there was one. There
There was
was
one, right?
one
Okay.
character from the Fantasy Star. There was two DLC weapons from the Fantasy Star series. You can unlock it using save data from the Fantasy Star game,
Okay.
or they've released a code for her which you can find on I think who was that news reporter girl on like Valkyrie Chronicles 2? I forgot her name. Like
Uh,
yeah, like she like had her own PDF newspaper for the Valkyria Chronicles.
Yes, on the Sega website.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like every time she released a new article pertaining to like aspects of Valkyria Chronicles 2, like classes and stuff like that, they would have like a code on the bottom, and one of the codes was to unlock the Fancy Star character and her like sticker for the tank.
oh, okay.
And I
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I remember. Yeah. So you'd have to have
so
the save data to
you
unlock
don't
that.
need save data, but you can have the option of using save data. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, I've never used
but
that
I think they
character,
did the
so
same for
I'm thinking.
Kisara as well.
I think I'm gonna try and see what she is about. I don't know what class she plays, but I'm gonna try and figure out what it is. You know what
She plays the
class?
tech.
Oh,
Plays the tech.
Oh, she plays attack. Oh, cool. I'll
yeah,
definitely look into her then.
Yeah.
yeah, actually, in screenshots that I was just taking a look at, she's portrayed as a mauler.
Yeah, she
Ah,
is.
all right.
Well, she's like a tech. You can go either way. Like, but yeah, awesome. Like, awesome progression so far. In terms of where VC is at the moment. Like, in terms of the future, right? Especially for another franchise of the game. Like, where do you guys see like storylines or game mechanics? Like, where do you see the game progressing? I guess like what would you like? I guess in the next game.
Well, I mean, for me, I guess. Well, with Valkyria Chronicles 4 being a probability, I think it's actually a possibility because of how popular it is in Japan. They can either continue the series with the events after VC2. They can do another version of VC3 where it's like the same events as VC1, but it would be like another squad member, another squad. Maybe it's like squad 620 something or whatever. Or it could be a prequel, which is something I'd prefer. It could be a prequel to Valkyria Chronicles 1, which it would cover the chronicles of the EW1, which is the European War 1, where you get to see all the events that took place between Largo with Eleanor Barrett, with Belgian Gunther, who was Welkin's father. You'd get to see all these events, and I wouldn't mind seeing a storyline based around that as well.
That'd be very interesting in my aspect as well. Like, especially in terms of like sort of like the technology wise at the age, I guess. Like obviously you see the technology now, right? In the Valkyria Chronicles series, it'd be really interesting to see the issues that would come up with technology and how you introduce like different types of like weaponry, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Like it'd be very interesting.
You know what would be interesting in that kind of in that kind of timeline? You get to see Isara's father, Timer, and that would be really cool, seeing him develop all
Oh
kinds of new
yes, you do.
weapons.
That's right. That's right. There was I think there was stipulation that in the first Valkyria Chronicles, you know the guy who would sell you orders in the graveyard.
Yeah, the
There
aged
was
Yeah,
gentleman.
yeah, the
the
aged
aged
gentleman.
down. Yeah.
That there was like stipulation that he was actually Isara's father at the
Oh
time.
no 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 no.
Huh?
No.
He's a commander.
Yeah, he was a tank sergeant, I
Really,
think.
something Kakuken or Kakunin, I believe it was the name. He was just a Gallian army officer.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I
And
heard
and
like people were posting it on like forums and stuff like that. Is a possibility that he could be,
well,
but yeah.
the thing is, I remember reading in the profile on in VC1 that he was I believe, like a commander. He had a leadership position. He was so impressed by Wilkin's father that he stepped down, letting Wilkin's father Belgian take his place. But
Really? Wow.
speaking of the prequel, not like I would totally think what Eximius was going with is actually a pretty good idea, where you take the events prior to Valkyrie Chronicles 1, but at the same time it sort of limits you in a way, because with Valkyrie Chronicles 2 it takes place what 2 or 3 years after the first game, right?
Yeah, yeah. Two
Yeah.
two
And
years.
in the epilogue of the first game, which takes place 4, 5, 6 years after, you already kind of get the impression that regardless of what happens in Valkyrie Chronicles 2, everything works out in the end. So even
Yeah,
if you're
that's
doing
true.
like a prequel
That's
or
true.
even like an in between VC1 and VC2, you're already kind of limited by where you can go with it, right? Whereas
Well,
if you do go and cover the first European War, you have a lot more room, because there's a lot of stuff that's not being covered, like how, for instance, Belgian and Thymer became friends. That secret character in Valkyrie Chronicles 1 that you get after completing the game once and letting a character die, he was also in the war. The main villain for Valkyrie Chronicles 2 also apparently was a commander in the army.
yep.
So there's a lot of room where you could go experiment, and like potentially you could even have the stirrings of the whole researching in laboratories about the Valkyrias, and in a way maybe in the first European War you could even do away with the having a Valkyria, because it sort of gives the, like in Valkyrie Chronicles 2, it just felt that the Valkyria and um, the man created like suit thingies were
The
way too
artificial
much.
vacuums. Yep.
Oh,
They
you mean
felt
the
like
man-made Valkyries? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it felt like what is the term? I believe it's Deus Machina, where they just appear and solve everything, right?
Oh, the Deus Ex
Because
Yeah,
Machina.
I know.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Valkyrie Chronicles, yeah, like in Valkyrie Chronicles 1, it sort of happens when Alicia's powers activate. She like just totally annihilates the Imperial forces. So, if anything, I would actually appreciate if they actually had a game where, maybe there is no Valkyria, despite the name being Valkyria Chronicles. Maybe have it more like soldiers against soldiers. Um,
Yeah,
'Cause I don't know. It just felt
I can see
like,
that.
just looking at Valkyria Chronicles 3, it kind of bugged me how you have a Valkyria like pretty much from the get go, and the impression I got from Valkyria Chronicles 1 was Selvaria was the only one, and she was shocked when they found out that Alicia's also a Valkyria. It just would be nice if it's toned down a little. And even going back further, you could even do a prequel. I believe on the Valkyria wiki, and within the first game, they mention a Gallian War of Independence that takes place 100 years before Valkyria Chronicles 1. So 100 years would be even a bigger
Leap, leap in
amount of
technology.
time to like cover.
Yeah.
Like you could even do with uh, different kind of technologies, and you could still have the whole aggression with the Imperial Army, because apparently Gallia was annexed to the Empire, and I guess they fought for their independence and whole new gameplay, whole new battlefield, pretty much if you're to go that way. And potentially you could even go further in the future, maybe 10, 20 years after the events of Valkyria Chronicles 2. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like it would go away from the whole alternate World War One, World War Two atmosphere of the first few games.
Well, like I said, for myself, right, I'd like to see like I love Eximus's idea of seeing the first European war. Also, maybe going back a bit further back when Valkyries weren't like Valkyries were considered really rare. Like you didn't see them as much. Like not so much like you see in like the current games where like having a Valkyrie is actually I won't say not uncommon, but at the same time, like you know what I'm talking about, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not a really really rare thing to have, but at the same time, it like there's not too many of them. But going back to that arc, if we were going to do like another sequel like in the future, right? I guess there's a lot of possibilities, especially like if you see one of the characters in Valkyria Chronicles 2, his name was Heinz. He was actually an Imperial soldier brought to Class D.
Who transferred to the academy?
Yeah, under like he was actually a hostage just in case, right? Like if you see his
No, that
profile
wasn't
at the end,
Heinz.
right?
That wasn't Heinz. That was Helmet.
Helmet. Sorry, mixed up.
Heinz was the butler.
Helmet. They often got along very well with each other.
Yeah, they
Apparently,
did
some
though.
of the
Yeah.
cutscenes. Yeah. Well, Helmet. Sorry, my apology. Helmet. Helmet. You read his profile. He actually after the events of Valkyria Chronicles 2, he went back to the Empire to actually prepare for another war. Although he did not participate because he like
Now,
obviously like
did it say another war or
yeah,
another invasion of
another
Gallian?
offensive against like to prepare for another offensive against Gallia. That's why he
Oh,
went back. But he didn't obviously he didn't have the heart to participate, which is what they said on his profile. But
Right.
they could probably adapt on that, or maybe so, right? If you see the advancement of technology right now, that have blimps and stuff like that, that gives a lot of possibilities of having air battles as well, or like also like like you'd have paratrooping units like into the battlefield as well as also have
that actually reminds me of something. When I was playing through in Valkyrie Chronicles 2 in your first series, like the airship, I actually expected that you might battle on the airship, or there might be some kind of something to do with actually using airships or anything. And I was pretty disappointed when you didn't. So that would be maybe a potential thing that they could explain, like in the next game, if they were to go further into the future. Like maybe they could even parallel our world, where like further development of planes, because they did kind of do that in the first game and other technologies. Um, One interesting thing, though, since I know we're on the topic of the story for the game and potentially also gameplay. But I actually had a fan post on the Facebook page saying how Valkyrie Chronicles, for it to actually succeed, especially in light of the fact that Valkyrie Chronicles 2 didn't sell well, was that the game, any future game should be multi-platform. And when I mean multi-platform, and I believe what the fan was referring to is having the game not on Sony systems, but all on, say, the PS3 and the Vita, the Nintendo DS, 3DS, the Xbox 360. But at the same time, I personally think that would be a bad idea, because if you'd be almost stretching your resources a little too thin. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on this, you guys.
um yeah me personally like I'd love to see the franchise like broaden. I'd love to see like more Valkyrie Chronicles fan like being passionate about the franchise as well. My only concern with if it goes multi-platform, right, is the limitations it's gonna have in terms of being equal on each console. Because you look at the this is a lot of generates a lot of conversation between like the aspect of Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Now, this is not me to start flame wars, of course. Like, this is just my own personal opinion. Like, the reason why a lot of people don't like games moving, like specifically from the PlayStation 3 and becoming multi-platform on the Xbox 360 is the limitations due to the Xbox 360's hardware. It can't incorporate more things than what fans want, I guess. Like, take for instance the Final Fantasy franchise, especially Final Fantasy 13. Like it had an Xbox 360 port, it had a PlayStation 3 port. What did everybody want? They wanted the Japanese dub option. And you know what what the directors and creators of the game said? They said it's a it's a good possibility that they could do it on PlayStation 3 due to the hardware and its technology to incorporate Blu-ray discs. They could not, however, do that. They couldn't do that for Xbox 360, and that's what pissed a lot of the fans off, especially in
See,
Final Fantasy. It was on the
at the
PlayStation.
same time, though, not to defend or badmouth either system, but when you look at it, both the PS3 and the 360, like in terms of hardware, they're very similar. The only difference being really that PS3 has more of the processors and the cell technology and the Blu-ray disc, pretty much.
But yeah,
Like if for instance the 360 had adopted a HD disc format, would be a different story.
yeah, I can
Uh,
totally understand. Like I said, in terms of technology wise, I would only say start multi-platforming, right? Only when the technology has advanced to a certain degree, where it allows for better equality between consoles. Because companies have the notion of like trying to keep like the content in games kind of equal in terms of multi-platform. They don't want to like do fan tributes to PlayStation fans more than like Xbox 360. They want to keep the experience equal, right? But because like of the technology difference, right, and limitations occurring between consoles, right? It kind of annoys the fans that want more and that can possibly have more, but then they won't get that option because of the equality factor. So I'd say yeah, it's a possibility of going like multi-platform. I'd love to see more fans, but I'd only recommend I would only think they would do so after the technology has advanced to a certain degree, I guess, to allow for better content to be added for everybody, I guess, not just be limited because of the technology factor. But yeah, that's just me. That's just me.
it's actually funny now I'm thinking back. The art book actually mentions during pre-production stages, Valkyria Chronicles, when it was called, uh, I think it was Gallian Panzers, or even
Yeah,
maybe before
Gallian
that.
Panzers. It was known as Gallian Panzers, and
Um,
the previous
they
time.
mentioned targeted platforms as being PS2, PS3, and PC. Now, had they actually stuck to that goal, potentially it would have been a really easy port from PC to 360, but uh, they went the way they did. Actually, you've been kind of quiet. I was just actually wondering for your thoughts also for the multi-platform, potentially for like the Valkyrie Chronicles series going forward.
Well, here's the thing. With multi-platforming, I'm gonna address that first because I didn't give my opinion on that yet. But with multi-platforming, you have specific problems with well, let's just say it's hardware limitations. You know, the thing is, if you produce a game for the PSP, making it go multi-platform on, let's say, for example, the DS, it's not going to work out too well because you have different kinds of hardware. So I think in terms of multi-platforming, you would have problems with making games work the same way they do with different consoles. So if you had to do that, you'd have to you'd have to work it in a different way to make sure that it works with the console. And that would be stretching thin your resources. You'd end up having less work done on the project, and you'd end up with a game that doesn't work as well as if it was limited to just one specific console. That's just my
Yeah, I
take.
can see where you're going at with that. I agree with you on that fact. Hey, like often you see games that don't turn out well because they're like multi-platform the game and like the hardware and game mechanics, like the limitations of it, and
Yeah.
like it's kind of like the potential of the game is limited because of that factor. Whereas if it's concentrated on one specific console, right, they can work with that specifically rather than cater to how does this factor out in another console? How does this factor out? How do we balance this issue out?
Right,
And yeah,
right.
it stretches your resources thin and kind of like produces a game that could have been better, if you know what I mean. Had more potential to be so better if like these factors were taken out. So yeah, yeah, I
And
totally agree
actually,
with you on that fact.
this does remind me. I believe the producer for Final Fantasy 13 mentioned how during the process of creating Final Fantasy 13, they ended up cutting a large chunk of content, enough content to create a new game, which apparently they're doing now with Final Fantasy 13 too. But see, the interesting thing is like not to demean any platforms or anything or to cause any flame wars, but to me it seems like if you do go multi-platform, you have to almost cater to the common denominator. You have to make sure that it runs the same as X was mentioning across all platforms. Actually, just to give an example, a device like the iPhone or the iPhone, specifically the iPod and the iPhone, they're similar products, one being a phone, one being an MP3 player, but there's hardware differences.
Right.
Even there, like Capcom made a port of Ace Attorney for the iPod and iPhone. Now, first generation iPod, this I'm sure because it's what I own, iPod Touch. You can't sorry, let me reframe this. So in the original Ace Attorney game, I believe there was no microphone and stuff because it was on the Game Boy Advance. Then they did a remake, sort of a remake slash port on the DS that made use of the touch screen, that made use of the microphone so that you could yell out objection or hold it or take that or whatever it is.
I did that.
And then they ported it, yeah. So they ported it to the iPhone and the iPod Touch. So with the iPhone, you obviously have a microphone, right? iPod, you don't. So, or iPod Touch rather. So the whole feature of being able to use a microphone completely removed.
Right.
Yeah,
Even
Because
though
it didn't have
it's
that
a
hardware.
similar platform.
Right.
yeah, hardware issues. But yeah, in terms of multi-platform, I could say right, there's a lot of issues with this kind of things. Like obviously, like we as fans would love to see more fans like into the Valkyria Chronicles franchise. I mean, it's an awesome franchise. It's an awesome game. Hey, it's really, really, yeah, just great. It's just really great. But in terms of multi-platforming, it's a rough issue, I guess I would say. It's a very, very rough issue, like in terms of where you could go with this, and obviously there's a lot of technology limitations like that. But yeah, we would love to see more Valkyria Chronicles fans in terms of that. We just don't want.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it does sadden me when Valkyrie Chronicles 2 was announced, and it was announced on PSP that I saw. Even to this day, fans who aren't too happy with the fact that it's on PSP, that they either, for instance, own just a PS3 or they have no interest in getting a PSP at all. Like initially, I enjoyed the PSP because it had a variety of titles I wanted to get, like the Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, a
Yes.
bunch of ports of older Japanese RPGs like Star Ocean 1 and Star Ocean 2, and new titles like, I forgot the first part of the name, but Trail in the Skies or Trail of the Skies.
Oh,
Yeah.
Uh,
what was the name of that? What was the initial title of that? Trails of the Sky. Was it? No, it wasn't.
I've never
I think
heard
it's
of.
Trails. I think it's Trails in the Sky because it has a acronym which is kind of um, ironic in a way. They're funny.
Okay.
I guess funny would
I've actually
Legend
never
of
heard of
Heroes.
that title before, but
So
yeah.
Legend of Heroes, Trails in the Sky. Yeah. So yeah. So there's quite a few RPGs and stuff that really attract me to the PSP.
Well, how do
But
you? Yeah, how do you say? I usually buy, like, in terms of like Valkyria Chronicles 2 being released on PSP. Um, it was one of the reasons why I wanted to get a PSP because I absolutely want to continue the franchise. But obviously, there was others who said, "Yeah, we love the franchise, but we can't. Like, we're not really don't want to."
well, like I'm certain
System.
that clearly there are fans who can't afford to just buy a system.
Yeah,
Just
just for a game. Yeah,
I mean,
like
people have bills to pay and everything. Uh, like personally, one of the first things I did when I started my job outside of university was I bought a PSP.
yeah. Well, like there were other games I wanted to get on PSP, obviously,
Yeah, so
but I
so
didn't
so in
want
my
to just get it
case,
for.
so in my case, I didn't have to worry about oh, should I buy a game for one or a system for one game, which is one of the points of contention for many fans. Personally, I'm glad that they released a digital copy along with the UMD because even if Sega decides not to continue the franchises in North America, which I hope doesn't happen, but you still would have the option of playing Valkyrie Chronicles 2 on the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
When they released the PSP Go, I was contemplating getting it, but there was no way of, like, for instance, if I could like create a backup of my UMD and and process it to get it onto my PSP, or maybe like a UMD drive that I could have as an attachment. None of that, and that's maybe that's one of the reasons why the PSP Go didn't really sell too well and pretty much die a premature death.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can understand that. Hey, actually PSP Go is my actually the only PSP I own at the moment. It's actually my first because I was a big fan of having digital content on there. But I can understand where you're going at. But yeah, in terms of Vita coming out, like I said, it allows for a lot of possibilities of what can happen. Hey, like in terms of like having a copy on both ports, like the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. Like I guess with Vita coming out, it opens our opportunity for a game to come out on the PlayStation 3 as well. Like you're even seeing games right now that used to be PSP exclusive being remastered and remade for PlayStation 3, like the God of War, Ghost of Sparta. That was
This is
originally on PSP, but now it's on
yeah.
PlayStation 3. So yeah, it's a it's a good future, like for what we're seeing right now, especially with the
And,
capabilities
and,
of
and,
Vita.
and the thing is, I think Sony has clearly learned a lesson about how to ensure that their systems are not as piratable as before. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's still PS3 mod chips out there or whatever, but I like the fact that, for instance, when you buy a digital copy, at least I'm assuming that the PSN works somewhat similarly to the iTunes Store, where you could have your digital copy on up to 5 different devices. And there's obviously copyright protection in there. So for companies such as Sega, who are kind of worried about piracy, there's definitely a strong case for PS Vita not having the same endemic piracy as the PSP had throughout its lifetime.
Well, yeah, things are advancing here. We can only hope for the best. And yeah, not to cut us off, but I think we are running a bit over time. Maybe just a bit, or
Yeah,
maybe a lot.
we're actually close to like 2 hours now. So
All right.
And we're about 17 minutes away, at least by my count. I was actually going to also ask you guys, like, in terms of other areas for like Valkyrie Chronicles 4, like, for instance, personally, me, I'd like to see the music changed up a little bit because when you compare, for instance, Valkyrie Chronicles 1's music style to 2, and clearly that you have the same composer whose music I really appreciate, Sekimoto sounds, uh, but it's very similar. Like I could take the Final Fantasy 12 soundtrack and it's very similar to Valkyrie Chronicles 1.
Well, yeah. Hey, who knows? We could talk about this on another podcast. Hey, like the music is a big topic here, and like yeah, I know a lot of people love the music. So yeah, perhaps we can use this as another massive topic just to talk about sometime. But yeah, I think we'll have to cut it short there, guys. We
yeah.
are over time, and we guys like this is actually longer than our podcast with Chris Mullins. But yeah,
Well,
anyway,
So
guys.
I'm guessing the scissors are going to be coming out.
Dean, thanks for having you on as a guest speaker on our podcast. It was like great to
No
talk to
problem.
you about the
It was a
franchise.
pleasure.
And
It
yeah,
was a,
everybody out there in the Gallian Liberation Front, keep doing what you're doing. Like Iron Veil has just finished already, and yeah, we couldn't be more excited to hear. Like hopefully Sega will have a response for us. But yeah, thank you everybody personally, like from me and the team and everybody else. We thank you for your participation in Iron Veil, guys, and yeah, we can only hope for the best. Like we can only go up from here, guys. Like we made some progress. Like we've only started 4 months ago, but yeah, we made some progress. So yeah, guys, keep doing what you're doing. Keep spreading the word. Keep getting people to sign that petition. And yeah, be active with our community, especially like make everybody feel welcome. Everybody's essential is an essential part of our team. And yeah, we couldn't have it any other way. And yeah, this is JR signing off here.
and this is me,
Eximus.
Eximius, signing off. Thanks for listening, guys.
and this
Yep.
is Dean signing off. Thanks for again for having me, guys.
Yeah, glad to
No
have
problem.
you.
We were,
All
we
right,
were glad
everyone.
to have you on.